night of Ouagadougou, a dark figure scaled the walls of the Chinese embassy, evaded embassy guards, and slipped into the garden. Disabling special security systems, he reached the ambassador's office. He quickly photographed the files on the desk. Burkina Faso, China Military Cooperation Agreement. The figure stealing these secret documents slipped out of the embassy with the same silence and disappeared into the darkness. The next morning, Ibrahim Traoré received disturbing news from his security advisor Zongo. Mr. President, details of the China agreement have fallen into the hands of French diplomats. A shocked expression appeared on Traoré's face. How? Only 5 people knew this information. All my trusted ministers. He slammed his fist on the table. There's a traitor among us, and I will find them. Traoré looked at the silhouette of Ouagadougou from his office window. The sun was just rising, but his mind was occupied with the darkness of the night. The new military cooperation agreement with China was one of the most important steps his country had taken on the path to independence. This agreement would replace French military advisors with Chinese experts, provide modern weapons and training, and most importantly, it would not include any political conditions. Mr. President, said security advisor Zongo, our sources at the French embassy report that all the details of the agreement reached Paris last night. They even know about the secret annexes. Traoré took a deep breath. The secret annexes? Only I, you, and 3 ministers knew about them. Defense Minister Diallo, Foreign Minister Ouedraogo, and Economy Minister Sankara. Yes, Mr. President. And the person who infiltrated the Chinese embassy is likely one of these 5 names. Or someone very close to one of them. Trrower reached for the file on his desk. The China agreement will directly strike at France's influence in the region. Western media is already writing that Burkina Faso is changing axis. The French will do everything to prevent this agreement. What do you want to do, Mr. President? Asked Zongo. First, we'll have a special meeting with the ministers we trust. But this time, there was a determined gleam in Traoré's eyes. I'll give each of them different information. Let's see which information will leak. Within an hour, Traoré and his 4 high-level officials gathered in the most secure meeting room of the presidential palace. Security advisor Zongo, Defense Minister Diallo, Foreign Minister Ouedraogo, and Economy Minister Sankara. Valued friends, Traoré began, the details of our military agreement with China have fallen into the hands of the French. This is an unacceptable security breach. Expressions of shock and concern appeared on the faces of all 4 officials. How is this possible? Asked Defense Minister Diallo, his tone defensive. Only we knew about this agreement. That's why we're here, said Traoré, looking at each of their faces one by one. One of us is leaking information. Mr. President, this is a very serious accusation, said Foreign Minister Ouedraogo. We have all been serving our country for years. Yes, that's true, said Traoré. But one of you is also working for the French. And I will identify who it is. The meeting continued in a tense atmosphere. Traoré detailed the problems that would be created by the leaking of the China agreement and announced his decision to tighten security protocols. However, he did not reveal his actual plan. After the meeting, he received each minister separately in his office. He gave each one different, false information. To Defense Minister Diallo, in the second phase of the agreement, we will allow China to establish a military base on our northern border. For now, only you know this information. To Foreign Minister Ouedraogo, we have responded positively to a new offer from Russia. In addition to the China agreement, we will also accept Russian military advisors. This information must remain confidential. To Economy Minister Sankara, in addition to the military agreement, China will make a $2 billion mining investment, especially for uranium mines. If Paris hears about this, they will react strongly. To security advisor Zongo, he revealed his actual plan. I gave different information to each of them. Whichever one leaks, we'll find the traitor. 2 days later, early in the morning, Intelligence Chief Aminata rushed to Traoré's office. Mr. President, information has started to leak. Our sources at the French embassy report that Paris has received information about the Chinese base to be established on our northern border. Traoré's eyes narrowed. So it's Defense Minister Diallo. What about the other information? Russian advisors or the mining agreement? No leaks about those yet, Mr. President. I see. Monitor Diallo closely, but don't let him notice. We need to gather more evidence. However, the next day it became apparent that the situation was more complex. Aminata again came with urgent news. Mr. President, the information about Russian advisors has also leaked. French intelligence has prepared detailed reports on this matter. Traoré raised his eyebrows in surprise. So Foreign Minister Ouedraogo too? In that case, are there two traitors? It seems so, Mr. President. But wait, there's more. The information about uranium mines has also reached Paris. Trrower rose from his desk and began pacing the room thoughtfully. This is impossible. All three ministers cannot have leaked the information. In that case, could the meeting room be bugged? Aminata asked. No. After that meeting I gave the information to each minister separately, in my private office. Traoré suddenly stopped. My office? Could my office be bugged? That very day, all security systems in the presidential palace underwent a detailed check. The palace's technical team and trusted external experts examined every corner. The result was shocking. Mr. President, said the security technician, we found a cutting-edge listening device in your office. It was placed in the base of your desk lamp. How long has it been there? Asked Traoré. At least 3 months, maybe more. Traoré took a deep breath. So information was being leaked this way. But who placed the device? To determine this, we'll need to examine who has entered the office in the last 3 months. Security camera footage, visitor logs, and entry-exit records of palace personnel were examined in detail. A list of suspects was created, but no definitive conclusion was reached. Traoré decided to follow a different strategy this time. He gathered with his special security team and prepared a trap plan. That night, in the palace's press room, he prepared a fake press release. The release contained information that Burkina Faso would completely nationalize its gold mines and cancel all rights of French companies. A draft of this release was left visibly on the desk in his office. Then, a secret operation began in which all palace personnel were monitored. Everyone entering and leaving the press office was watched. Security cameras were monitored 24/7. 2 days later, an urgent request for a meeting from the French embassy indicated that the trap had worked. French ambassador Jean Dupont had requested an urgent meeting with Traoré. When Traoré received the ambassador, he maintained a calm expression. Please, Excellency, what is the reason for this urgent meeting? The ambassador got straight to the point. Mr. President, we have concerns about your decision to nationalize the gold mines. This means a loss of billions of euros for French companies. A slight smile appeared on Traoré's face. Interesting, Ambassador. We haven't announced this decision yet. Where did you hear about it? The ambassador hesitated for a moment, then recovered, rumors from your press office. I see, said Trrower. Are there French journalists who regularly enter our press office? I certainly don't know the details, President Trrower. I am simply conveying our concerns on behalf of my government. After the meeting, Traoré immediately gathered with his security team. Our trap worked. The fake press release reached the French. Examine who entered the press office in the last 2 days. When the records were examined, an interesting name emerged. Marie Fay, a member of the palace cleaning staff. French Burkina mixed. She had been working at the palace for several years. Camera records showed that she stayed longer than expected in the press office and looked at documents. Fay was detained and interrogated. Initially, she denied everything, but faced with the evidence, she confessed she was working for French intelligence. She had been hired by the cultural attaché of the French embassy in Burkina Faso. I was only reporting on documents I saw while cleaning, she said in her defense. I didn't place the listening device in the president's office lamp. Then who did? The interrogators asked. Fay hesitated, then answered, I don't know. But cultural attaché Dupont mentioned having other friends in the palace. This information confirmed Traoré's fears. There were multiple French agents in the palace. The investigation was deepened to find the person who placed the listening device. The background of everyone with regular access to the office was re-examined. Special attention was directed to the president's chief of staff, Ahmed Ouattara. Ouattara had been educated in France and had served in diplomatic posts in Paris for many years. He was one of the most trusted figures in the palace, until his financial records were examined. Regular money transfers were detected in a secret bank account in Switzerland. 10,000 euros every month, for the past 3 years. The source was a French consulting company, a known front company for the DGSE, French Foreign Intelligence Service. When Ouattara was detained, he denied the charges. However, during a search of his home, similar listening devices and encrypted communication equipment were found. Finally, Trrower had learned the truth. The person closest to him, his most trusted advisor, had been working for French intelligence for years. Ouattara made a comprehensive confession. I was recruited by the DGSE while I was studying in France. My mission was to influence Burkina Faso's internal politics in line with French interests. Why? Asked Traoré, with deep disappointment in his eyes. For the money. And because I believed that France should still have a say in Africa. The colonial era may be over, but we still need Western guidance. Traoré nodded with a bitter smile. Western guidance. Yes, they guided us very well on how to exploit our minds. 2 weeks later, Burkina Faso National Television broadcast a live program. Traoré addressed the nation and revealed the great betrayal scandal. My dear citizens, he began his speech, today I have to tell you a bitter truth. 4 years, my closest advisor, the person I trusted most, Ahmed Ouattara, was spying for French intelligence. The screen showed recordings of Ouattara's confession, documents of Swiss bank accounts, and photos of listening devices. This betrayal is not just against me personally, but against all the people of Burkina Faso. It is an attack against our independence, our sovereignty, and our national honor. Traoré announced that he had declared the French ambassador and cultural attaché persona non grata and that they must leave the country within 48 hours. He also announced that military agreements with France would be reviewed. But at the same time, we've learned a lesson from this incident, he continued. The struggle for independence is not easy. Colonial powers will try every means to maintain their control. From today, we are launching a comprehensive security screening in all state institutions. A nationwide operation was launched to identify other agents working for French intelligence. In light of the information provided by Marie Fay, French agents in many institutions were uncovered. A month later, Traoré sent an open letter to the leaders of all African Union countries. In the letter, he detailed the activities of French intelligence and invited other countries to take similar measures. Africa's independence should not just be in flags and national anthems, but also in economic and political decisions, he wrote in the letter. We must reject the secret control of former colonial powers and determine our own destiny. Western media was full of articles criticizing Burkina Faso's overreaction. The French government denied all accusations and claimed that international diplomatic norms were violated. However, the impact in Africa was very different. Countries like Mali, Niger, Guinea, and Cameroon initiated similar security screenings. France's influence in the region began to shake. In Burkina Faso, Ahmed Ouattara and other agents were tried for treason. During the trial, details of decades of French intelligence operations were revealed. It was documented how elections were influenced, how economic decisions were directed, and how national policies were determined. A year later, Traoré officially signed the military cooperation agreement with China. This agreement envisaged the replacement of French military presence with a Chinese training mission. Additionally, the process of nationalizing gold mines was initiated. France tried to respond with economic sanctions, but trade agreements with China, Russia, and other African countries helped alleviate this pressure. At an international economic conference, Traoré explained Burkina Faso's economic transformation after the security scandal. Independence is not just a change of flag, he said. True independence is controlling your own resources, making your own decisions, and looking after the interests of your own people. Finding the traitor at the table was difficult, but once we found him, our journey to true independence began. Today, Burkina Faso is seen as one of the symbols of economic independence in Africa. Traoré's determined leadership and brave response to the betrayal scandal became a source of inspiration for other African countries. As for Ahmed Ouattara, he was sentenced to life imprisonment for treason. In a prison interview, he made one final confession. I understand my mistake now. I thought France was helping Africa, but actually, it was just exploiting it. President Traoré's vision showed what true independence is. I wish I had understood before it was too late. Each year, on the anniversary of the scandal which he has declared National Independence Day, Traoré addresses the people. We found the traitor at the table and turned one of the darkest pages in our history. Now, we are writing our own future. It's time to show the world Africa's true potential. Burkina Faso's story highlights one of the biggest challenges faced by post-colonial Africa: internal betrayal. But as Traoré has shown, when this challenge is overcome, true independence becomes possible. Betrayal is painful, especially when it comes from those closest to you. But sometimes, discovering the betrayal from those closest to you can be the step that brings the greatest freedom.